Welcome to our poi spinning tutorial on the monad, Introduction to Telekinesis.
What's up, Flomies? Jesse Hart of Full Circle Phenomenal here. Welcome to the Sacred Flow Art channel. Today we're at Playa Bluff Lodge on Bocas del Toro in Panama. We're just waiting for another day or two and waiting for our levy wand to arrive, as we're going to be adding that prop as well as juggling onto our repertoire of different props here to learn on the Sacred Flow Art channel. These two props, the levy wand and juggling, contact as well as juggling balls, are a perfect segue in today's topic. Subtle energies found through practices like meditation, yoga, and qigong are studying the first step that you need in order to move your prop like magic. By being able to focus on your breath and posture and what the least amount of energy you need to apply to your prop in order to get it to do what you want to do will enable you to be able to begin understanding it as an aspect or an extension of yourself rather than an object that you have to force around your body. Learning these practices will help hone in on your finer motor skills, grow your nervous system inside the body, as well as begin to tap into your non-physical nervous system outside of your body. After this video, you can head over to the Full Circle Phenomenal YouTube channel, link under my name in the video description, to get some free classes on meditation, qigong, and yoga, in order to master the original props that is yourself, physical, mental, and emotional. You may have already noticed that some of the best flow arts seem to levitate their props effortlessly. They've done so because they put in the amount of practice that it needs to in order to become one with the object, essentially making it as familiar to themselves as their own body, maybe even more so. They say juggling is the ultimate flow art because it's done without tethers. I say telekinesis is the greatest flow art as it's done without traditional motions that rely on the laws of physics. You may have heard of bending, popularized by the TV show Avatar: The Last Airbender, where these characters learn to partner with the different elements found in nature in order to move them in extraordinary and fantastical ways. I say that we always become our stories, so how wonderful would it be for us to actually achieve the impossible and begin to do as we have in these sort of sagas? So that will be a significant part of what we learn here on Sacred Flow Art, alongside the different techniques or tricks that we can perform with different props, learning choreographies or how to move the prop to music, as well as getting to know flow artists from around the whole world. One such flow artist, lesser known, is this man here. Here's an example of a legitimate professional telekinetic flow artist from Paris, a man named Christian Giotti. Though you might be speculative and believe this as an illusory, the more you learn meditation and qigong and depths of your spiritual connection with the universe, you find that reality itself is very illusory. By understanding ourselves less as a physical body and more of energy and vibration, you can begin to bridge the gap between your physical self and the space and objects around it. When we see objects or props, not as separate entities, but as an extension of ourselves, an electromagnetic conductor capable of electric conduction, and discover the flow state, we begin to understand how we need not force the prop to do what we want it to do, instead just enable its flow. It's practically as if it has a mind of its own. This is connecting with the nervous system found outside of your body, reaching into the prop itself. Today we'll be focusing on a very basic practice that constitutes the monad, or the singular circle, or orbit as we might call it, only using one poi. Alright, so take the poi in one hand, doesn't matter which hand you start with, and just begin to pendulum it from side to side. At first you may notice the
naturalness of wanting to move your whole arm with the pendulum, as that is what we want to encourage a lot of the time. But today, learning telekinesis, we're going to focus on keeping it still and really focusing on the point in our lower abdomen, our center of gravity, and breathing slowly in through our nose and fully out our lips, maybe through pursed lips, keeping focus on attention from the center of our being all the way through to that connection where the hand grip meets the hand, and slowly apply gentle energy. Once we start to feel it, let's get the full circle or orbit going. At first, it's very tricky and your arm will want to bounce, but keep the focus on your center at your low abdomen and just begin to rotate it, focusing on keeping a nice upright posture, a slow flowing breath, and conscious awareness on an equal pull at all times from the poi head. Not just when it's at its lowest or closest to the earth, but also when it's at its highest, closest to our head. Here's a version in slow motion as you'll begin to study keeping a focused eye on my hand. I haven't grown perfect at this practice as well, but I'm growing this practice with you. We are always focusing on the steady motion of the poi. We like to call it the least amount of energy, but notice as you initially push the poi and then it begins to pull you and you pull back, finding the harmony between this push-pull mechanism where you really begin to feel the poi as an extension of your arm. It may take you a little bit in order for this muscle memory to really grow, but the longer you practice, the easier, the more noticeable, and even the more slow motion the object tends to seem to move. Wherever you're at, you want to also switch in both directions, so just spinning not just to one direction with one hand, always finding more ways to move it. So go ahead and switch it, go in the opposite direction with the same hand, but the exact same drill. Notice how my muscles are still spasming, still pulling at it. And this is tricky for me to do because even I only have a good handful of years on my practice here with Qigong as well as flow arts. Still a long ways to go. But I have noticed that things get more and more magical, and I noticed at a certain point a few years into my flow arts practice that my mind is able to absorb the information much more quickly. I can note that the poi just kind of tend to want to be in these locations rather than me trying to force the trick to happen. The trick almost wants to happen as soon as my mind knows exactly where to put the poi and how to connect with it. Going with the other hand in both directions, not just in the wall plane, but also in the hall plane or wheel plane as well. We're going to be focusing on moving the monad in as many different orients around our center as possible. But notice how I'm still keeping my hand pretty close to my center. It's kind of a halfway point between my arm or elbow and the space just a couple inches beneath my abdomen. It's far from easy. Keep practicing.
I highly recommend that if you haven't taken up a regular daily practice, head over to the Full Circle Phenomenal channel, subscribe, and connect with the meditation, qigong, and yoga playlists, enabling yourself to begin to study what's happening underneath the skin surface level. And though this may be challenging as there's hard to face thoughts and feelings, still, investing in yourself internally will make your external reality that much more vibrant, that much more wonderful, and that much more effortless to manage. If you like, you can reach out to me directly via Instagram, Facebook, or email. Moving forward on SFA, we will learn about the relativity or relationship between different props, enabling ourselves greater holistic health and epic entertainment, never using the object as a means of martial arts. Because as we study the interconnectedness of ourselves in the universe, we realize that only ourselves is present, therefore never needing to defend ourselves against anything or anyone. Before you disregard this as not even being possible, stop yourself with that very thought. Recognize that we're always evolving, always changing, and science and spirituality or religion of the past ends up being debunked inevitably in the future. Putting these two potentials together and recognizing that we know nothing enables us to greater understand everything. There is always a masculine, logical, analytical way to describe things. There is also a feminine, spiritual, or intuitive way of defining things as well. Perhaps we call this logical and romantic sides of things. Here at Sacred Flow, we're going to combine the masculine and feminine together in order to illustrate to the widest audience possible in a way in which to relate, regardless of your understanding of advanced science or of in-depth spirituality. We are taking flow arts to the nth degree here. So stick around with us, give us a like, subscribe, as well as hit the notification bell. We'll release 2 new videos on flow arts every single week in 4K Ultra HD as we drive around the entire planet teaching this stuff, performing as well on the Unite the World Firsthand global movement.